Hey guys, my name's Jake. For this project, I decided to focus on vampires in the Bible. Really and truly, I could only find one primary example, and that would be Lilith, the Queen of Demons. Um, so, as I was doing research for this, I found a number of supposed biblical points of evidence for her existence and involvement in the Bible, and then along with that, some lost books that can be used as sources, and some other things in there. So I've got 7 points to cover here. Hopefully, I can do it quickly and give as much information as possible. So we'll see how this goes. So supposedly, starting off, it is believed by some that there are two creation accounts. So the first is in Genesis 1 and the second in Genesis 2. In each one, there is Adam and a woman. So supposedly in the first account, Genesis 1, some people believe that Adam was created and a woman were created at the same time, and that they ended up not getting along, constant arguing, all of that. So the woman then leaves the Garden of Eden, goes out and starts to cross the sea. As she's crossing the sea, Adam cries out to God, and God sends out three angels to go and find her and give her this ultimatum. So this ultimatum essentially was that she could either come back to the garden and be with Adam, or she could continue on, go on with her life in her own way and do as she pleases. However, she would be cursed as a horrible creature, as well as the fact that 100 of her children would have to die every day. So this seemed odd at first, but then realizing after she was cursed that she would become queen of the demons, it was actually these 100 children would be 100 demons that would have to die every day. So she doesn't return to the garden, so she is affected with this curse. Sorry. And she essentially just takes on this identity as Queen of the Demons. So, starting off, Lilith was not associated with this first Eve who left the garden until medieval times. So, in 1611, there were supposedly 80 books in the Bible. Our modern-day Bible today has 66. So, in 1611, there were 80 books. In 1684, the Vatican allegedly removed 14 of them that they disagreed with, and most of these generally were the ones that contained any information that there was regarding, topics like Lilith, Queen of the Demons, and many other. I'm sure there were many other stories in there. So, aside from these, though, there are many other examples that are still in the Bible that people believe point toward Lilith. So some of these are, she seems to appear a lot in the book of Isaiah. And upon doing some research here, I found that she seems to appear in a lot of lost books and some other sources that have been, uncovered, all of that fun stuff. So starting off, let's go to Isaiah chapter 13. So, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, verses 21 and 22. Sorry about that. In Isaiah chapter 34, verse 14, there is an actual, what is considered to be a direct reference to Lilith as the Queen of the Demons. So in Isaiah 34, the word Lilith is used, and that's the original translation. So translated into Hebrew comes out to be Lilith, and then in modern English translations, that would be Lilith. Often now, if you look into our NIV or our KJV versions of the Bible, you'll see something like this. Different terms used to describe this creature that was mentioned, being the screech owl, the night monster, the desert creature or night creature, the night hag, or the night specter. Another term that was also used was the Lamia. Now, that was the Latin translation, and I thought that was interesting because that is literally just a one-letter difference from one of the ancient vampires that we talked about at the very beginning of this semester. I don't remember how to pronounce it. Lamiae or something, which was the serpent-like monster, the half serpent, half woman that ate children. So, amazingly enough, that would be so that is used as a point of evidence to support that Lilith was in fact a vampire, and in the Bible as it legitimately is. Well, in the Latin translation, it states her name there in Isaiah 34. So, moving on from there, so pretty much throughout Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, there are a couple references to Lilith, or a creature that could be Lilith, or that is believed to be Lilith. So once again in Isaiah 34:14, she's referred to as the screech owl, or the creature is referred to as the screech owl. So one of the things that's interesting is that Lilith is believed to have the ability to fly. This screech owl then gives that, that aspect of flight, so wings and all of that. She is also described in that passage, in that book, as the slayer of younglings, which is another key factor in the legend of Lilith. She was she cursed newborn babies. There was often how they would deal with these things is there are many amulets that have actually been uncovered and found. Archaeologists have found them that have the names of the three angels that were sent to find Lilith after she left the garden in that supposed first creation account. These amulets were used to protect young children soon after birth, because I can't remember the exact numbers, but I believe it was up until a male baby was 8 days old and up until a female baby was 12 years old, it was possible that Lilith could claim them essentially as her own children and, essentially turn them into demons. So those amulets had the names of the three angels that came out to prevent that curse from being set on her, and supposedly that protects the child from her influence. Let's see here. So, moving on to lost books. There were lost books that were discovered that supposedly mention Lilith or creatures like Lilith throughout Isaiah, actually, and through a couple of different things is the mention of a creature known as the Leviathan. So this is Leviathan is supposedly described as a winged serpent fleeing from the presence of God and dwelling in the seas. So this matches the legend surrounding Lilith. So essentially, being a Lamia, half serpent, half woman, so that matches the serpent. The screech owl then connects the flight, so winged serpent, and then the original account, the first account of creation, then accounts for the fleeing from the presence of God and dwelling in the seas. As the legend states, she then went to live in an oceanic sort of cave, I guess you could say. So, moving on from there, the book of Enoch it confirms that Leviathan dwells in the seas and is female. So is female. It's another, knock towards Lilith. Actually, I think I have that pulled up here. The book of Enoch I have here. It states here that, so in the book of Enoch, I believe it's chapter 60, verses 6 and 7, it says that, and on that day 2 monsters will be separated from one another, a female monster whose name is Leviathan, to dwell in the depths of the sea. So that right there is that's the confirmation there of what the book of Enoch says about Leviathan, and which shares characteristics with Lilith. So there's that. Another lost book would be, well, or other source, whatever you want to call it, is the Dead Sea Scrolls. So in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the Songs of the Sage, they speak of, they talk about God's glory, and how God's glory frightens all of the spirits of destroying angels as a general category. And so so yeah, what the Dead Sea Scrolls in here, what it says right here is, and I, the instructor, proclaim his glorious splendor so as to frighten and to terrify all the spirits of the destroying angels, spirits of the bastards, demons, Lilith, howlers, and desert dwellers, and those which fall upon men without warning, to lead them astray from a spirit of understanding, and to make their heart and their desolate... I don't know. Alright. During the present dominion of wickedness and predetermined time of humiliations for the sons of light. So essentially, the Dead Sea Scrolls, literally word for word, they name Lilith in that list. It says spirits of bastards, demons, Lilith, howlers, and desert dwellers. So clearly there was a, at least a belief in a being known as Lilith, supposed to be the queen of the demons, as she's associated here with all of the spirits. She's under the category of spirits of the destroying angels. So clearly that has some significance in the belief of Lilith, queen of the demons. So, the last source that I picked there was King Solomon. King Solomon, in the Bible, he wrote a lot of the Proverbs. So in Proverbs 30, he references Alaka. And Alaka is described as having mystical powers, very similarly described as the water curse, which was mentioned in Isaiah about, if I have that saved, I hope I do. There was a water curse placed on Lilith that caused, I don't think I have that saved, but essentially this water curse, it essentially caused, after, at a certain time, a day of the demons, I guess you could say, Lilith would emerge from her ocean home, and the waters would be completely ruined. Tar would flow through the rivers. The sand would be affected. I can't remember exactly what happened, but essentially, the water sources would be completely ruined, and they attributed this to Lilith and the curse that she brought on. So, so in Proverbs 30, so that curse is mentioned, the water curse is mentioned, and then also what is mentioned is the curse for the seed of Lilith. So this has to do with the early in a child's life, the 8 days for a male, 12 days for a female, that could be claimed by Lilith as a essentially demon child. So that is addressed also. It's mentioned. And so with that, I did write down here some similarities between Alakas, the beings that were mentioned by Solomon in this proverb, are also known as Estries, which are essentially female bloodsuckers. So the equivalent of a vampire. So similarities between what is described as an Alaka and the being of Lilith was that they both possessed winged flight. They both murdered children, and along with that, they were both constrained by an oath. So I didn't have a chance to find out exactly what the oath was that an Alaka is involved with, but the oath regarding Lilith has to do, again, with the ultimatum that was given to her by the three angels upon her leaving the garden was she agreed to those terms. They said, you can come back or you can be cursed with this, and 100 children have to die, all of that fun stuff. And she specifically chose under oath that she would not go back and that she would take the curse. And so that is that. Another thing that I just found here was that Ulricas and Lilith were both supposedly their cursed powers were said to be revitalized by deceitful eating. So I wasn't really sure what that meant. I had kind of figured that had something to do with the blood sucking, since that was the main attribute that related both of them. But essentially, that is that. So, last but not least, I have, if I can find it, yes. So, actually, I already went through that. So, that works out. Yeah, so I think that's just about everything. So yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls provided insight into the relation between Lilith and the demonic state. The Book of Enoch related the Leviathan into a possibility of the Leviathan being Lilith, Queen of the Demons. And yeah, so that's all of that. I think that oh yeah, the last thing that I wanted to point out was that actually Michelangelo's painting in the Sistine Chapel, the sin of Adam and Eve, it depicts Adam and Eve standing side by side and then a tree, and of course they're under this tree. That tree is supposed to be the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which if you've read or if you're familiar with the creation story and the fall of man and all of that, then that is the tree that they were forbidden to eat off of, and when they did, they were then cast out of the garden and cursed to a life of hardship and all of that fun stuff. But on this tree in Michelangelo's painting is coiled around this tree is a half serpent creature, half serpent, half human, and I found it difficult to tell specifically if this was a half serpent, half woman, or half man. So I found it difficult to figure out the actual, if it was Lilith or if this was if this was just a visual interpretation of in the creation story when Satan as a serpent came in and deceived them. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So I've attached the a file of the painting, so you guys could look at it and decide for yourself. But yeah, so that's that. Lilith, Queen of the Vampires. Oh wow, Queen of the Demons. Can't even get my own project right. And yeah, so thanks.